We have unconfirmed but persistent whispers that Maxie Jones, Damian Spinelli, and little Bailey Louise might be packing their bags for good, stepping away from Port Charles to build a new life elsewhere. At the exact same time, the board is being flooded with new and returning blood. Serena Baldwin is stepping back into the light with a fresh face. Tristan Roberts is making his grand debut right in the middle of the historic 16,000th episode. A mysterious, highly influential corporate executive named Hudson is scheduled to touch down on the 30th of July, 2026. And we are also hearing rumbles about Special Agent Harker and Quinn. The board is incredibly crowded, but it feels like these new pieces are being strategically positioned to fill a massive, impending void. Let us build the first future scenario, which revolves around a temporary return strictly designed for a proper, tear-jerking farewell. In this timeline, Maxie returns to the canvas for a handful of highly emotional episodes. She and Spinelli come to the profound realization that Port Charles, with all its mob violence, WSB conspiracies, and lingering ghosts of people like Peter August, is no longer a safe environment to raise Bailey Louise. They decide to leave on their own terms. Who benefits from this? The incoming characters. Hudson arrives just in time to buy out Maxie's shares in Deception, immediately establishing himself as a ruthless corporate titan without having to fight Maxie for screen time. Tristan Roberts steps into the technological void left by Spinelli, perhaps becoming Jason Morgan's new right-hand man. Who is in danger? Brooklyn Quartermain, who loses her absolute best friend and confidant right when her marriage to Harrison Chase is facing unprecedented turbulence. What changes is the entire emotional core of the show. The legacy ties to Frisco and Felicia are suddenly stretched incredibly thin. This could lead to a beautifully written, nostalgic send-off where Maxie gets to walk through the halls of General Hospital, the Metro Court, and the Deception offices one last time. Imagine the scenes where Spinelli has to look Jason Morgan in the eye. Jason, who just returned to Port Charles as a changed man, and tell his ultimate hero that he can no longer be the Jackal. He has to be a father first. The bigger consequence may be the structural gap left behind. Spinelli has been the deus ex machina for the mob for over a decade. Without him, Sonny and Jason are technologically blind. This path allows the writers to tie up loose ends respectfully, giving longtime fans the closure they desperately need while seamlessly passing the baton to the new generation of characters like Serena and Quinn. But we have to look at a second future, one that is completely different and far more unsettling. What if there is no grand farewell? What if the story simply moves on and they fade into the background, leaving town entirely off screen? In this scenario, Maxie and Spinelli are simply mentioned in passing as having relocated to Portland or Seattle. This isn't just a minor variation. It completely changes the dynamic of how the audience interacts with the show. If they vanish silently, the incoming characters do not get the benefit of a clean handoff. Instead, Hudson arrives and aggressively takes over Deception in a hostile corporate raid, exploiting Maxie's sudden absence. Serena Baldwin returns and is forced to navigate a Port Charles that feels strangely empty, perhaps taking over Maxie's apartment or her social circles without ever sharing a scene with her. If that happens, the audience backlash could be severe, but it also creates a massive vacuum that forces the writers to accelerate the storylines for Tristan Roberts and Agent Harker. Without Spinelli to magically hack into the PCPD or the WSB servers, the characters are forced to rely on new, untested allies. Tristan might not just be a new face. He might be a corporate spy or a hacker with far more sinister motives than the lovable Jackal ever had. There's a chance that a silent fade-out is a deliberate strategy to rip the Band-Aid off quickly, clearing the payroll and the narrative space so that the upcoming summer storylines can focus entirely on the Cold Fusion fallout, Jason's new perspective, and whatever massive corporate war Hudson is bringing to town. It would be a cold, calculated reset of the Port Charles universe. Now, let us dive into the third future, which is by far the most unexpected and wild possibility. What if their departure is not a happy choice, but a forced extraction? We know the WSB is currently running rampant in Port Charles. Ross Cullum has caused chaos, Z is making secret deals, and the cold fusion data is a lingering threat. What if Spinelli, in his endless curiosity, hacks into the wrong WSB server? What if he uncovers something so dangerous regarding Z or the late Cassius Faison that his entire family is marked for death? In this scenario, Maxie, Spinelli, and Bailey Louise do not get to pack their bags and say goodbye to Mac and Felicia. They are scooped up in the dead of night by Agent Harker and thrown into WSB witness protection. This is the wildcard path. It completely subverts the expectation of a peaceful exit and turns their departure into a high-stakes thriller. The story could be heading toward a massive mystery where Max, Scorpio, and Felicia spend the next year trying to track down their daughter. It gives the new characters immediate, high-stakes material to work with. Serena Baldwin, with her own complicated family history, might team up with Jason Morgan to figure out where Spinelli was taken. Tristan Roberts could be revealed as the WSB handler assigned to erase Spinelli's digital footprint. It keeps the characters alive in the lore of the show, leaving the door cracked open for a dramatic return years down the line, but effectively removes them from the current board with a massive explosion of narrative momentum. If you ask me, the path that feels most likely is a hybrid of the first two, but leaning heavily toward the bittersweet temporary return. I keep coming back to the idea that the executives and writers know exactly how much Maxie Jones and Damian Spinelli mean to the fabric of General Hospital. You do not just erase decades of history, love, tragedy, and triumph without acknowledging the weight of that loss. Kirsten Storms and Bradford Anderson have delivered some of the most memorable performances in the show's modern history. The path that makes the most sense is bringing them back for a highly publicized, deeply emotional 2-week arc. It allows the show to market a farewell to Maxie and Spinelli event, drawing in lapsed viewers while simultaneously introducing Hudson, Tristan, and Serena to a maximized audience. I strongly believe that the influx of half a dozen new faces is not a coincidence. You do not bring in a mysterious corporate powerhouse like Hudson, a fresh recast like Serena, and new wild cards like Harker and Quinn unless you are actively trying to plug a massive hole in your roster. The writers are building a new foundation because they know the old one is shifting. If you ask me, we are going to see Maxie realize that she has outgrown the constant trauma of Port Charles. She survived Peter August, she survived the kidnapping of her child, and she finally has peace with Spinelli. The most logical narrative step is for her to look around, realize that she has won, and choose to walk away before the city can take anything else from her. It is a beautiful, empowering way to write off a legacy character. But we cannot stop there, because the future always demands to know what happens next. If this bittersweet departure scenario plays out, the next shockwave will fundamentally alter the DNA of the show. Looking ahead, the absence of Maxie and Spinelli creates a massive tonal shift. Port Charles has always balanced its dark, mob-heavy storylines with the quirky, heartfelt, and deeply human energy that Maxie and Spinelli provided. Without them, the show could easily skew much darker and more cynical. Jason Morgan, who is already questioning his place in the mob, will feel incredibly isolated without Spinelli's unwavering, almost childlike loyalty. This could be the exact catalyst that finally pushes Jason to leave Sonny's organization for good, realizing that the people who tied him to his humanity are moving on. The bigger consequence may be the complete restructuring of Deception and the corporate world of Port Charles. With Maxie gone, Lucy Coe and Brooklyn are left vulnerable. This is exactly where Hudson strikes. What happens next may be a brutal corporate takeover storyline that dominates the fall sweeps. Hudson could dismantle Deception piece by piece, erasing Maxie's legacy and forcing Brooklyn to find a completely new path, perhaps pushing her closer to Giovanni Palmieri and the music industry. Furthermore, the arrival of Serena Baldwin will force a reshuffling of the social dynamics among the younger set. Serena will need allies, enemies, and romances, and she will be stepping onto a chessboard that has just lost its queen of fashion and gossip. Ultimately, the future of Port Charles is hurtling toward a massive era of transition. Whether they leave quietly in the night, get swept up in a WSB conspiracy, or share a tearful, beautiful goodbye with the town they have called home for decades, the exit of Maxie, Spinelli, And Bailey Louise will leave a crater that will take years to fill. The new blood, Hudson, Tristan, Serena, and Harker, will have to work incredibly hard to earn the love and investment of the audience. The story is moving forward, the map is expanding, and while it is heartbreaking to see beloved characters potentially reach the end of their journey, it is also thrilling to look at the horizon and wonder what kind of wild, unpredictable future is about to unfold.
Goodbye. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the GH Spoilers Daily channel.